to our health. Kind of a poopy water. I think, oh crap. Welcome back, friends. It's Anders. Today we're making the Aunt Roberta. It is considered the deadliest cocktail in the world. I've never had it. I've never wanted to try it, but today I'm going to. I'm also going to workshop the drink. So I'm going to see that this is assuming that it's bad, by the way. I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be bad. And I'm going to workshop it and try to make it a respectable cocktail so all of you can enjoy it. Coincidentally, my mother's name is also Roberta. No relation to the cocktail. She is a lovely lady. Let's make the drink to the bar. Before we dive into this cocktail, I gotta tell you the lore of Aunt Roberta. It goes something like this. Allegedly, in the 1800s in Alabama, there was a girl named Roberta, and she was born to a slave owner and she had a terrible childhood. So she ran away from home and supposedly became a lady of the night, if you know what I mean. Then she became a bootlegger and a moonshiner, and she created this cocktail with the spirits she was making, I guess. And the story goes that over the course of 2 years, 34 people died from this cocktail, giving it the label of the world's deadliest drink. Now, the cocktail wasn't very popular at the time, but enter Billy Joe Spratt, who was the local raccoon hunter. And he grabbed that recipe and took it up to New York City, where it took off in popularity. And the rest, as they say, is history. But I tell you what, all of that horse pucky, hogwash, bullshit. First of all, there is no print. There's so many classic cocktail books and none of them mention the Aunt Roberta. So there's no paper trail. And I feel like popular cocktails of the day, they've made their way into books. Also, the base spirit is vodka. And if we're going back to the 1800s, really any time pre-prohibition, vodka in cocktails was basically non-existent. It wasn't heard of. Vodka really didn't get mixed into cocktails till like the mid 20th century. So you think, okay, well maybe this cocktail is from the mid 20th century. However, another big component in this drink is absinthe. And from 1912 until 2007, there was an absinthe ban in the United States. So it probably wasn't even a mid-century cocktail, which leads me to believe this cocktail was probably created in or after 2007. And the story about Aunt Roberta having this terrible life and killing people with her cocktail didn't happen. I'm sorry. I don't like the drink. I'm gonna say that right now. I've never tasted it, and hopefully I'll surprise myself and it's gonna be outstanding. But what I don't like about it is the fact that the original cocktail is roughly 8 ounces of booze. That tells me the sole purpose of this drink is to be the deadliest cocktail, is to get people to talk about it, make it, and here I am doing a video on it. Just to be clear, this is not the story of my mother. My mother wasn't, she wasn't born in the 1800s. No, she was born a little bit later. What I want to do is then see if I can make a respectable version of the cocktail. I've already got some ideas in my head based on the ingredients alone, but I really don't know if it's gonna work. So there's no promises here. I'm not guaranteeing anything. In order to see what happens, you're just gonna have to watch till the end. So, now the booze. All right, so to make the Aunt Roberta, we're gonna need quite a few bottles. So let me show you. Right now, we will need vodka, absinthe, gin, cognac or brandy, and creme de mure, a blackberry liqueur. Let's build. I've got a larger mixing glass. We're gonna start with the base of the drink, which is vodka. A full 3 ounces of wadka. If you really want to make this cocktail, you can look at the ratios, you can scale it down by a factor of 3, and you won't waste half of your back bar. 2 ounces of absinthe. That is a lot of absinthe. Absinthe is not cheap. Now we're gonna add 1 ounce of gin, 1 ounce of cognac, finally, 1 ounce of creme de mure. Now this is the only sweet component, so I am curious how sweet it will be. There's like 8 ounces of booze right here. We're not gonna drink it just like this because that would just be idiotic. So we'll add ice and stir because this drink isn't idiotic alone. On its own. I feel like I need a lot of ice. It smells of absinthe.
Look how high it's going.
Yeah, right. And this is a larger mixing glass. Now it's turning into a lovely swamp water, murky hue because of that absinthe. All of those oils that were suspended in there being mixed with a brown spirit and a dark liqueur, and it's turning into a kind of a poopy water color. Strain this cocktail off into something very large. Ah, No garnish necessary. There we have the Aunt Roberta. To our health. Cheers, everybody. You definitely smell the absinthe, but there is actually kind of a fruity element to it. So the nose is interesting. Oh my God, that. It tastes like absinthe. My tongue is already going numb. It's way out of balance. I don't know why there's cognac in it. You don't taste it. I don't know why there's vodka other than just to raise the proof. Absinthe is what you taste. There's a little sugar from the creme de mure. Gin, those botanicals, they're pretty much gone too. It's absinthe. You put 2 ounces of absinthe into a cocktail, and that's really all you're gonna taste.
Can I taste it?
Yeah, Oz, you're gonna, I think, yeah. This is the deadliest cocktail in the world.
Shocked. Bad.
Bad as in you need another sip? Or, okay. I think it's giving me heartburn, actually. I'm gonna have a second sip because I am gonna fix this. I think that this is fixable. I'm sorry, Roberta. Bartending was not your shtick. So here's the deal. The number one thing is obviously we have to cut back the absinthe by an alarming amount, a lot. With vodka and gin and cognac, oh, nice cognac. We just wasted an ounce of cognac in this drink. You really do have to cut back the absinthe. Gonna give myself some rules and adjust in here. I'm not gonna add any other spirits. I'm not gonna take spirits away, but because there are different kinds of gin, I'm giving myself creative freedom to use whatever kind of gin I want. Also, I'm going to incorporate some lemon oil. Not the juice, just the oil. With that, I think we can make a decent cocktail. So first, I'm gonna try making this cocktail as if it were actually created in the 1800s. And then I'm gonna try and see if I can make a drink that's a little bit more mid-century. And I think it will be a fun experiment. Let's build. So I'm not gonna use the London Dry Gin. I'm gonna swap that out with an Old Tom gin, which is a sweeter style gin. I think it'll give more depth to the sweetness. There's a part of me that really wants to add a few dashes of bitters, but this first go around, that's not what I'm gonna do. I am gonna do a regal stir with a lemon peel. And I am going to dramatically change the ratios here because I'm making this as if it were pre-prohibition or even the 1800s, so wish me luck. So I'm gonna use the Old Tom gin as the base. That was 1.5 ounces, 3/4 ounce of cognac. I'll get the vodka in there, but I'm just doing 1/4 ounce. So this is kind of take it or leave it, but I said I was gonna leave it in there, so I'm just adding 1/4 ounce. Creme de mure also 1/4 ounce. Remember that Old Tom gin is kind of sweet. The absinthe, I am going to do a rinse in the glass later, so we'll leave that out. I am going to add my swath of lemon and add ice and stir. The color already looks better. Another video with no sponsors. So today's video is sponsored by me. Go pick up a bottle of my grenadine or falernum in partnership with Portland Syrup, link down below, and go to our Patreon for exclusive after hours episodes and sneak peeks. So we're not gonna get the same luge, obviously, because we don't have the absinthe in there. Although some gins will luge because they also have suspended oils in them. All right, so I'm just going to coat the inside of the glass with my little spritzer bottle of absinthe and strain the cocktail into the absinthe rinsed glass. I'm not sure if I want to do the lemon oil on top or not. Let's taste it first. So obviously it looks better already. Give it a sniff. Taste. You know, that's not bad. It's a little sharp. Yeah, I do feel like maybe some orange bitters in here would be good, or that's not bad. It really isn't. The cognac gives it some depth, the roundness, all this stuff. I think it's clearly an improvement from the original, but I do want to try another take on this, which is a mid-century version.
That's not bad.
You pretty good with that?
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Wow, look at that. First try, not bad. But I do want to try another approach, which is balancing the base between the gin and the cognac. Because even right now, that cognac, it still takes a back seat. So this next one, I'm gonna split the base between the gin and the cognac. And once again, I'm going to switch out my gin to Plymouth, which is another style of gin. It's not as dry as the London Dry Gin, not as juniper driven, but it is also not as sweet as the Old Tom gin. So again, I wanna keep it around 3 ounces pre-dilution. So I'm gonna do 1 ounce of the gin, then 1 ounce of cognac. We're already at 2 ounces. I'm gonna do 1/2 ounce of vodka and then 1/2 ounce of the creme de mure. I'm adding a little bit more of the blackberry liqueur because We're not using a sweeter gin. Let's go 2 dashes of absinthe, 4 with the little dasher bottle. I think it smells really good. I've got high hopes. And this one, because we didn't do the Regal stir, I'm going to express some lemon oil across the top and discard. I thought I'd like it a little bit more than I do. Oz, what do you think?
So-so.
So, yeah. It's flat. It's flabby. So I'm gonna go one more round. I wasn't planning on doing this. I thought both of them were gonna be bangers and we were gonna just say, all right, thank you very much for watching, and that's it, have a good night. I do think that our first one here is very drinkable. I think I'm gonna go one more round and try to fine tune this mid-century one we've made here. I'm thinking punchier gin. So I'll go back to the London Dry. I'll keep the equal parts base because I like that. Dare I go 3/4 of an ounce? I will do it, why not? I'm not using this for anything else, so. I'll maybe cut back on the blackberry liqueur, and I'm gonna do an extra dash of absinthe in there. So it's 3 dashes. 6 half dashes. 3 dashes, 4 dashes, should I go 4 dashes? Okay, I can add more later. You can always add more, you can't take it out. I am gonna add a Regal stir, swath of lemons, pressed, dropped. We'll take a sip and then I'll decide whether or not I want to express oils across the top. All right, so here we go. This is the mid-century Aunt Roberta, take 2. God, I really want to like that, you know? Crap. Again, I really like the finish. I like the blackberry and absinthe on the end. That's really nice, but it's really confusing up front. And maybe that's because I have a split base of the cognac and the gin. If you just take a minute with me, this last one that we did, the one with the Plymouth gin, it's lacking in the middle, you know? You taste it and then it's like nothing, nothing, nothing. And then you sit without anything and you're like, oh yeah, I get a little bit of that nice finish. This one, to me, is lacking up front. And it's kind of muddy in the middle and then you get a really nice finish. I'm not gonna make any more. If I was at home, I really, truly would. I would probably make half cocktails just because I don't have like an endless amount of money that I can spend on booze. So I'm gonna go back to this first one. The first one we made with the Old Tom Gin. I gotta tell you, that's nice. So, but this is what, you know, workshopping cocktails is all about. Everybody, please drink responsibly. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you are wanting to pick up some bottles, do check out Hob, House of Bitter Bear. The entire collection is curated by me and catered to the recipes we make here on the channel. I will see all of you next time. Get out of here, bye.